Hey there. I want to preface this by saying it's not a weekly iteration, but it's a message to you, my fan, who has come to listen to the podcast each week. Before you get any misconception about what this message is, it's not a Dear John letter. This isn't the end of the podcast. As I've said many times before, there are still many amazing stories to be told, and I have absolutely no intention of stopping anytime soon. I want to lead by saying I'm incredibly grateful to the fan base that I do have, even if it's still a small one. One of my favorite things, other than telling these terrifyingly amazing stories each week, is to go onto Buzzsprout, my host platform, and to look at all of the locations that people listen in from. So allow me the pleasure of shouting out my biggest listener bases on the platform. First off, to Canada and the Canadians that listen in from all across our wonderful country for the 4,306 episode downloads to date. A big shout out as well to those listening from the United States, my second highest listener base, and to Mexico. To those across the pond in Europe, listening from the United Kingdom, Ireland, France, Sweden, and Poland, thank you so much. I would also be out of line if I didn't mention my third highest listener base, Australia. And especially the biggest shout out to Straya comes from those listening from Melbourne, who are my seventh highest listened from location, and the highest listenership outside of Canada. A big shout out as well to those listening from around the world. Even though you may have only stopped in for a few episodes, I do see you. To those 214 subscribers listening on YouTube, the 100 followers of our Facebook page, and the 189 on TikTok, thank you for choosing to subscribe. Though you might think I don't see it, I do. I see each and every new subscriber. After all, I originally set out to make a community. And though I've attracted those who love this content, I feel I've fallen short of my mark. In line with the episodes, I also want to make engaging content and continue doing the things that I love. I want to attract new guests to share their amazing stories. And of course, I want to continue doing deep dives into the dark and morbid. Again, let me reiterate, I'm not going anywhere. After 10 months, almost to the date of this message, since I started the podcast, and the 50 episodes combined of chapters, interviews, folklore appendices, and all of the wonderful bonus episodes, it's simply time for me to take a break. I'm not riding off into the sunset, but rather taking the foot off the gas for a little while. I intend to be back on the 28th of June for the special anniversary episode that I have planned. The 28th of June, of course, marks exactly 1 year since the release of our first episode, The Exorcism of Annalisa Michelle. In the meantime, it's not a complete break for me, as in the time I'm away, I'm going to be drafting new episodes and doing new interviews. And yes, I already have one scheduled, so that I'm ready to hit the ground running when I return. So more or less, for the next 2 months, you won't have my friendly, wonderful, charming voice grace your earbuds. When I return, the release format will also be changing. I'm going to trial a season-based concept with the release of 10 new episodes each season. There are a few key reasons behind this. First off, as it's been from the beginning, the Insidious Agenda podcast is, and has been, a one-man show. I do the research, the writing, the recording, the editing, the release, and the promotion all myself. And because of that, it's time for me to start being honest with myself. It's a lot. But as I've always said, it's a labor of love. I have no intention of walking away, as there are still so many amazing stories left to be told. To be honest, the weekly production target is tough to meet, and to put it simply, I'm feeling the burnout. It's my intention to produce the best possible show that I can, and to do that, I just need to slow down a little bit. Second, the writing and production of each episode takes time, and a good amount of time at that. Because of this, I've chosen to experiment with the seasonal concept, to allow for a better grasp on production, and to produce things at a high level, not an acceptable level. Third, I have another project that has taken a back seat as the podcast takes so much of my spare time and energy. That is the writing of my book. I'm about 40 pages in to an awesome fantasy novel that I've given myself years to write, so don't expect it to be released anytime soon. I started writing with Ace before he passed, and I hadn't felt the love and passion to revisit it until the past few months. I felt its call, and it drawing me back into the wonderful world that I'm creating and the characters that I love. Trying to fit that in around our weekly episodes has been tough, so the seasonal breaks will give me time to pursue that passion as well. In closing, it's been an amazing first season, although it's hard to label it as such. If only things I love, like The Mandalorian, did 50-episode seasons, I'd be enamored. I'm also looking forward to being reinvigorated and taking that next step into the podcast's future. I am 100% looking forward to coming back and bringing you more episodes about the things we all love. So with that, if you ever wanted to hear a specific episode or topic, now's the time to submit it. That way I can work it into my research and scripting. Any submissions you have can be sent to the podcast's email. It goes to insidiousagendapodcast@gmail.com. That's insidiousagendapodcast@gmail.com. The email, as well as our socials, can also be found in the link tree at the top of each episode's show notes. There's no cost to submit a request or idea, and I'd love to see some engagement from the listenership. Even if you just want to drop a quick email, just to say you've been loving the episodes, I'd appreciate that too. I always do. If you're submitting an episode, I love ones that aren't too familiar. If you have one from your certain corner of the world that is lesser known, and you've got a good many details, or even a version of the way you tell it, I'd love to hear it. If you even want to try writing your own episode to submit, I'd be enamored to read it. Of course, I'll release it as a bonus episode, so as not to shortchange anyone, and you'll still get the regular 10 from me. But this is where I sign off. Again, I'm very much looking forward to coming back, and I'll talk to you again soon. As I head into this well-earned break, I'll leave you with my closer. But for now, it's time to close the cover of the Insidious Agenda. Thanks very much for listening, and I'll see you on June 28th.